8 años. Sí, el Seth también. He visto vídeos suyos y lo he dicho antes. Este tío.
Hey people.
Que todo es a través... Este no lo he visto, el de Elden Ring. ¿Está guay o qué? No lo he visto, lo vemos.
People.
No lo he visto este.
Seth here. The following is highly experimental and may come off as disjointed or schizophrenic. I don't care. Elden Ring, the newest hot release by Hideo Miyazaki of Ghibli Studios, famous for classic animations such as Howl's Moving Mausoleum and My Invader Totoro. From Software have really outdone themselves, as this game features not one, but 2 crustaceans, possibly even more.
Son autogenerados.
Unfortunately, I haven't unlocked the ability to swim, so I cannot confirm or deny that. The game begins, and I make my character. His name? Sambubu. His class, naturally, is wretched. I did originally consider prisoner, but I chose not to. I take the key as my starting item, and live to regret it after I get immediate access to a side dungeon and get run over repeatedly by a speeding train. I chose instead to go the other way. After camping a few times, Melina comes by and offers me an accord. I turn it down because I think it's funny. I then proceed to kill Morgott and Godric before I realize I haven't leveled up. How was I supposed to know I had to say yes? Miyazaki, just because I'm offered the ability to talk to a woman doesn't mean I'm going to take it. I think that's a symptom of bad design. Conversely, I fell for the oldest trick in a book, the warm embrace of a woman's lap, only to find out 100 hours later it's actually a debuff. What did they mean by that?
Es un debufo, es verdad, el abrazo, pero creo que es un debufo de un 4 o de un 5% o algo así, ¿eh? O sea,
I guess I'll have to consult a 40-minute lore video to figure out the true symbology behind this item description. I tell you, passive storytelling at its very best, especially when half the characters either disappear, die, or start T-posing during your playthrough. This might bother people who believe there's a story, which is the equivalent of finding a bunch of random notes and thinking to yourself, damn, that book was wild. Halo's plot is crazy.
No está mintiendo, ¿eh? No está mintiendo. Es como si yo cojo un puto libro, arranco las páginas, las tiro al aire y digo, ¡hala! Disfruten. Pero además, de las páginas quito información al azar y dejo algunas cosas solo.
Have you not read all the secret terminals? On the bright side, Dark Souls lore channels now have a steady source of bread for the next 4 years. I assure you, you'll know every side character better than your own family. I don't remember which war Granddad was fighting, but I do know Patches. I know that, canonically, he is circumcised. Honestly, I don't judge. I still get to have my wife Ronnie. What I'm criticizing is the involvement of this fat fuck.
Pero bueno, no te metas con el pobre Martin, coño, pero... Joder, me ha pillado totalmente desprevenido. Es que ha ido a puto saco, vaya. Ha ido a piñón fijo. O sea, vaya putísimo hit en todo el pecho, la virgen. No sé. Yo necesitaba reírme, te lo juro, ¿eh? O sea, necesito... No sé, ¿sabes?
What I'm criticizing is the involvement of this fat fuck. Celebrated all.
La imagen esta además está ampliada para los lados. Me ha hecho un montón de gracia, no puedo.
I know that canonically he is circumcised. Honestly,
sí.
I don't judge. I still get to have my wife Ronnie. What I'm criticizing is the involvement of this fat fuck. Celebrated offer, helping to weave the narrative experience. Okay, let's see what this dude wrote. Sunset found her squatting in the grass, groaning. Every stool was looser than the one before and smelled fouler. By the time the moon came up, she was shitting brown water. The more she drank, the more she shat. But the more she shat, the thirstier she grew. And her thirst sent her crawling to the stream to suck up more water. I rest my case. J.R.R. Martin is the greatest author who has ever lived. He has also never finished his books. And so, fitting...
No puedo.
The greatest author who has ever lived. He has also never
Pasa Harry Potter. Es que no puedo.
Finished his books. And so...
Joder, esto está siendo como un navajazo y una jeringuilla directa de serotonina en mi cerebro, ¿eh?
From Software has embodied the spirit of J.R.R. Martin by never finishing a single quest line. Elden Ring is an ambitious Martin by never finishing a single quest line.
Me voy a morir. Te lo juro que yo me muero, ¿eh? Yo me muero. Y le ha puesto esto en el ojo, tú. La puta Maiden aquí. No puedo,
Elden Ring is an ambitious platformer, and if you disagree, you haven't played the game, because half this game is jumping with a head start, or falling into a hole, into a canyon, into the place you originally wanted to, but accidentally jumped before doing so, adding an extra foot to the height of your fall, which turned it into a lethal descent. There's nothing I love more than jumping awkwardly off rooftops, but how do we spice it up? Archers. You love archers. They're on every roof, and they've got tracking. And guess what? The sewer levels are back. And this time, they're essential to the plot. Yeah, I'm thinking Game of the Year. Calling the mountain your game, Torrent. Absolute genius. So, anybody Googling Elden Ring Torrent gets a bunch of horse pictures instead. I can't wait until Googling Elden Ring Torrent gets a bunch of...
Es que hay tantos detalles todo el rato. Rollo constantemente en estos vídeos, es que no puedo,
horse pictures instead. I can't wait until Elden Ring 2 features the popular and beloved character Codex de Nuvo pre-cracked no virus. But why are we here?
Oh, dude. Oh, wait, I gotta take another screenshot.
We're here for the difficulty because we're hardcore gamers. Take it from me. I've already beaten the final boss, John Elden Ring, so I can give a few pointers. Have you ever...
Mató a John Elden Ring. Qué suerte, tío.
We're here for the difficulty because we're hardcore gamers. Take it from me. I've already beaten the final boss, John Elden Ring, so I can give a few pointers. Have you ever used a weapon, armor, fast travel, potions, or opened the world map? I'm sorry to say, but you're playing the game wrong. This game is meant to be played level 1 as a wretch using a single club.
Hostia, ¿visteis al pavo ese que estaba jugando Elden Ring sin mapa? Porque no los encontraba. Rollo que llevaba el tío 50 horas jugando sin mapa. Y lo puso en Twitter y decía, qué difícil este juego, no sé qué. No encuentro nada, decía. ¿Lo visteis? Me hizo muchísima gracia.
If you disagree, I'll call you a casual. If you ever hear someone talking like this, take pity on them, because this behavior is characteristic of someone who stacks no paper and gets no bitches. This game isn't hard, not because it's not hard, but because video games fundamentally aren't hard. You know what's hard? The circumstances of life, getting a degree, having a stable family, being born with... The circumstances of life,
el ligero cambio de la imagen. Rollo.
Stable family, being born with a baby arm. You're born and one arm develops normally into an adult arm, but the other is this stunted mini child arm, which stops growing at like 3 years of age. So you're this freakish monstrosity. You'll be known around town as Baby Arm Man, and the only job you'll ever have is baby arm stock photo, because it's harder for them to get a kid to pose for that. It's a lot more convenient to have a malformed monstrosity on standby. Furthermore, I genuinely believe that pattern
Está
recognition
guapa la UX, ¿no? Está chulo el diseño,
is a form of cheating.
El puto mapa del Battlefield.
Standby. Furthermore,
el puto mapa del Battlefield aquí. Joder. Este es uno, aquí tenemos otro. Aquí las plantas del Plan versus Zombies. No puedo, Me estoy muriendo, vaya. Lo de GTA, sí. F3, entre el photomode. Le falta el photomode, también te digo, El Club Penguin. Aquí está lo del Fallout también. Los Tark. Joder. ¿Esto qué coño es? No lo sé.
Or I genuinely believe that pattern recognition is a form of cheating. Your Homo sapiens brain is literally destroying the difficulty of the experience by compensatory adaptation. I hope that people consider this in the future and later...
¡Qué suerte!, ¿no? Mata solo dos bichos y asciende a sargento maestro 2.
Consider this in the future and later learn to recognize that the truest From Software experience would be a lobotomite run, where prior to playing we perform a frontal lobotomy and sever your prefrontal cortex. Sometimes the only option you have to preserve the purity of your experience is brain damage. Multiplayer enhances the experience. Sometimes you'll see white phantoms briefly appear. These are players from other worlds going through their own journey. Once, I saw a white phantom appear, teabagging a dead NPC. In this moment, I knew I was playing a masterpiece. Messages and appraisal are exactly how Reddit users believe karma works. You upvote, and you get actual physical nourishment from the karma. Oh look, a message...
Cuando tú le das a un me gusta a un mensaje en el Elden Ring, te pueden pasar cosas buenas. Yo no le he dado en mi vida nunca. O sea, te dan algo.
on the floor. Maybe someone out there will tell me something useful.
Cuando te
Then
dan a
you
ti, te
open it
curan.
and read
No lo
it
sabía,
only
tío.
to see dog butthole, closely followed by Fortnite. According to a true story, once upon a time, Miyazaki's car broke down in the middle of a road. This was during winter, so no help was to be found, when suddenly 3 strangers appeared out of nowhere, sucked him off, and left without even saying a word. And that's how
Suerte, ¿no?
Miyazaki got the inspiration for Souls multiplayer. Gameplay, flawless, stunning, effervescent.
Eso pasó de verdad, ¿eh? Está en la biografía de Miyazaki, que le pasó eso, vaya. Que es verdad, ¿eh?
Bloodborne was a complex allegory for sexually transmitted HIV. Elden Ring is a rich synesthesia between seeing Swampland and remembering Blighttown, or hearing Leyendell long after you've left the capital, because my ears are still ringing from the sound of those fucking trumpets. Actual real critique. No jokes, no giggles. I think every boss should have a steak of America outside the boss room. Generally, this is true, but sometimes I gotta walk. And traditionally, I do not consider cardio as part of a boss fight. Now, the walks are more generous than any other Souls game, but just because somebody chose to take a smaller shit in my rice doesn't change the fact that it's still there. Inside my bowl,
Es que es verdad,
steaming up my Tupperware. I would also have
detalles,
originally said that the death screen is quite long, but then I realized it's working as intended. You see, when you die in PvP, you have no option but to watch helplessly as someone spams point down and repeatedly defiles your dead body. My complaints are pretty mild. If, like me, you didn't realize Vigor has a non-linear scaling, it would have helped immensely to know that going 10 to 20 makes no tangible difference, but 20 to 40 is all the difference between taking a blow and getting one-tapped by most of the game. I wish I knew that at the start.
linear la
Luckily, this
vida.
game is very generous with its ability to re-roll your character. If you're still paranoid, you can back up your save at no risk. I've done this more than 100 times without issue and recommend you do the same,
Va lineal.
because despite what anybody says,
sabía.
there's a million ways to
Por eso, una vez más, el mejor Souls se llama Sekiro.
break your save. I've done it.
Pero bueno.
I can reproduce it. It's still there. Also, easy anti-cheat is a very good anti-cheat because it's very easy to turn off. My friend may have done exactly that and more. Tell me, Seth, was he punished? Is he banned? No, some of the later fights have interesting hitboxes. Not like I care. I cheesed through that shit. This game makes you realize the greatest companion you'll ever have is yourself. So why not make a copy? Lore. Before
Los putos
continuing,
memes
we
de
have
la-
to stop
de la-
and
de la
talk about the
mimic
best
tier
character in the
esta,
game. Dung
Joder.
Eater. Loathsome Dung Eater. Ferocious feaster of feces. Devious doo-doo devourer. Dung Eater consumes excrement, feces, shit even. Nihilistic and with a wicked sense of humor. His greatest desire is to eat the poo-poo and of course murder you and defile your dead body. I think there's a lot we can learn from Dung Eater, but as a society, we're not yet ready for that conversation. Builds. There's many builds. Strength is terrible until you realize you can power stance through the entire game and block everything else with barricade shield for 0 stamina.
Han mejorado las
Strength,
espadas estas
unfortunately,
tochas ahora,
puts you
creo,
at the highest risk group for naming yourself the Black Swordsman and cosplaying as your favorite slice of life anime. If I see you doing this,
Es la puta foto
Swordsman
del,
and
del pavo este, tío, del actor de...
cosplaying as your favorite slice of
Del
life
actor de la momia, ¿no? Sí, ¿no? Sí. O George de la jungla.
anime. If I see you doing this, I'll summon you intentionally so I can kick you from my world. Dexterity. Do you enjoy katanas? How about double katanas, each one longer than the last, using realistic, historically accurate
Entiendo que
sword
esa es la
techniques
espada de la
from feudal
Malenia,
era
¿no?
Japan? What about epic PvP compilations? Say no more. Get a river of blood today. Intelligence. Some would say a great deal of their enjoyment comes from learning the moveset of every boss. A rhythmic dance between sword, swipe, and parry. A lethal symphony silenced only by death. Others would disagree. I'm confident that if you ask any player running sorcery what's their favorite boss, they'll recoil in surprise and say, I don't know any. I just sit at the back and spam Azure Comet. Faith. Incantations are very good. Abusing the animation of Catch Flame to cast them instantaneously is even better. And before you say it, I know It's working exactly as intended. You know what else is intended?
Es que no, yo no he probado magia
Also,
realmente.
this and this. My greatest enjoyment of this game, beyond the exploration, the richness of the graphics, and the scale of the world they made, has been abusing every mechanic I possibly can before it gets patched out. And so, inevitably, I have taken to abusing other players. You might call them humans. I call them people who use Moonveil unironically, and thus I feel no remorse for any of my actions. In summary, Elden Ring attracts many different responses. Some fillet the long shaft of FromSoft endlessly. Others hate it because of their own incompetence. Walking manifestations of a Dunning-Kruger effect, these people believe that failure is not their own and somehow inflicted upon them by the universe. You can't be bad at video games, as video games are merely a subject matter. No, that is a deficit in your cognitive ability, something that likely plagues you in every aspect of your life. In summary, if you're bad at video games, you're bad at life. You've got a smooth brain and a low IQ. Your fate
Y por eso, como tengo una no-hit, soy claramente, objetivamente, mejor que todos vosotros.
is to be a grunt in the New World Order. And then there's others, like me, who are quietly waking up to the fact that maybe
Qué asco de vos,
we
por
should have
Dios.
never dropped those bombs to begin with. I guess what I'm trying to say is Elden Scrolls 10 out of 10 garbage. I love it. As always, more content to come, so stay tuned. If you're interested in some merchant multiplayer, password FUGHUNT goes in all fields. First 52 Invade get a 15% off their first month of FUGHunters.com, the official sponsor of this video. And now, allow me to conclude this presentation with some
No tienen 1700 horas de Europa Universalis. Ahí me has pillado, la verdad.